5,000 years ago, people with no metal tools, no wheels, and no written language moved stones weighing up to 50 tons hundreds of miles, and arranged them into one of the most precisely aligned structures in human history. This is Stonehenge. In the next 5 minutes, here's the full story. Before the monument, there was already something special about this ground. As far back as 8000 BC, Mesolithic hunters were erecting enormous pine posts right where Stonehenge now stands. We've found the holes. Nobody fully knows why they chose this spot, but the landscape itself may hold the answer. The Salisbury Plain sits at a natural crossroads, where two valleys frame the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset almost perfectly. The land seemed to invite it. Around 3000 BC, Neolithic farmers dig a circular ditch and bank, about 360 feet across, using deer antler picks. Just inside, they dig 56 pits in a perfect ring, known today as the Aubrey Holes. For a long time, we weren't sure what those holes were for. Then a 2013 study revealed the truth. They were a cremation cemetery. At least 64 individuals were buried here. From the very beginning, Stonehenge was a place of the dead, a sacred threshold between the living and whatever came next, aligned to the movements of the sun. This phase lasts roughly 400 years, with timber posts standing inside the enclosure and generations of people bringing their dead here. Then, around 2600 BC, someone makes a decision that changes everything. They bring in the stones, but not from nearby. The first stones, called bluestones for their blue-grey colour when wet, come from the Preseli Hills in Wales. 240 miles away, there are around 80 of them, each weighing up to 5 tons, moved on sledges, rollers and rafts with nothing but human muscle and rope. Why travel 240 miles for rocks when there are perfectly good rocks much closer? The leading theory: these stones were already sacred. Some Welsh outcrops naturally ring like a bell when struck. They may have had a healing reputation that made them worth the journey. The builders weren't just sourcing material, they were importing meaning. A century later, the really big stones arrive. The sarsen stones, enormous slabs of silkrete from 25 miles north, are shaped, jointed, and raised into the iconic structure we recognise today. The largest weigh 25 tons. The builders carve mortise and tenon joints to lock the lintels in place. Woodworking techniques executed in solid rock. The outer circle originally held 30 uprights topped by a continuous ring of lintels. The inner horseshoe held 5 massive trilithons, graduating in height toward the centre. The whole thing aligns precisely to the midsummer sunrise. Archaeologists estimate this phase alone required around 20 million hours of human labour. For a population of perhaps tens of thousands across all of Britain, that is almost incomprehensible commitment. Over the next 1,000 years, the bluestones are rearranged several times into their final positions. Then, around 1500 BC, the building stops. Stonehenge, as we know it, is finished. The Romans visited and left it alone. Medieval writers credited Merlin. The Druids became attached to it in popular legend, despite being a full 15 centuries too late to have built it. Today, 1.5 million people visit every year, and at each solstice the sun still rises exactly where it always has, directly over the heelstone, flooding the monument with light. Here's what strikes me most. Stonehenge wasn't built by one civilization. It was built, rebuilt, and tended across 1,500 years and multiple waves of people. Different cultures, different beliefs, different everything. And still they kept coming back. We may never know the prayers spoken here, or the names of the people who raised these stones, but the work itself is the answer to every question about why. They did it because it mattered. Deeply, generationally, profoundly, it mattered. Sun rising over the heelstone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more history. I'll see you in the next one.